I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys want to
Eh,
be, but there won't be anything in the playoffs if they keep playing like this.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and with me today, two of our favorite cavalcade of stars, starting with our favorite team leader, Mike King. Mike, how are you, sir?
Well, it depends. If I want Caleb Williams, I'm doing great today.
I don't know if you want Caleb. All right, and Captain for Life, Will Cotton. Will, how are you, sir?
Doing great, doing great. Another beautiful day.
All right, so on today's Top Shelf Tuesday edition, in segment one, we're going to do best, worst, and most surprising. Segment two, we're going to do a breakdown of the Raiders' organizational situation, and I have two great assets to talk about that. And in segment three, we'll talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. And I wasn't as entertained as I could have been. But first, Will, what's the best thing you saw today?
Oh man, C.J. Stroud, man, that man had 475 touchdowns and the win. Bang, best thing I saw today for sure.
All right, CJ. Okay, Mike, what was the best thing you saw today?
I mean, that's the answer. But if I'm going to give something else just to be interesting, Kansas City beats a quality opponent. And apparently Miami hasn't beaten a team with a winning record since week 3 last year. So I think I saw that going around online. And it's like, if that's true, why do we keep thinking Miami's so good?
That I do not know, fellas. The best thing I saw today was the Ravens win over Seattle.
That was good.
Seattle usually travels well coming back to the East Coast. And the old gambling adage is West Coast team plays 1 o'clock, you pick the home team. And I did on a secondary bet, but the Ravens actually like dismantled Seattle. And they like really beat them and beat them pretty badly. And hey, big brother, that guy looked like a quarterback today. But I digress. Well, what's the worst thing you saw today?
The Dallas Cowboys discipline. Oh, it was terrible. You know, they had a winnable game, but they just had poor offensive line. They had 5 sacks, and they just couldn't get it going. And even at the end, after the fumble for Swift, they were still in it, and they just could not block at all. And they just had penalties after, it just was bad. I don't know what the Dallas Cowboys want to
It,
be, but there won't be anything in the playoffs if they keep playing like this.
it's hard to be a Cowboys fan because I had a little chump change on the game, and I'm like, man, I couldn't do this anymore. I could do this long term. Mike, what was the worst thing you saw today, sir?
I mean, I think it has to be the Giants. They didn't look great before Daniel Jones tore his ACL, but then after, I mean, they're down to
Oh,
the
Coach
third.
Zeb, he tore his ACL.
Yes, sir.
Probably.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
R-
It bucked with Mount.
Initial reports say
Yeah.
ACL.
Yeah,
And
they always know.
Tyrod's out a month, and now he's out for the year, and DeVito can't play. I don't know if his friends and family know he's in the NFL. It's gonna be rough, but again, there's a light at the end of the tunnel. There's a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, and it's quarterback.
Do you
Oh,
really want Caleb? I'm still a little paused by what I saw yesterday.
it brings a tear to
I
my
think
eye.
I say it that way.
Brings a tear to my eye.
Yeah.
But yes, I want Caleb.
It's okay. So the worst thing I saw, fellas, and again, strictly for entertainment purposes only, was Tampa Bay's defense at the end of the game. Hey, what was that? Okay, CJ, bless his heart, 5 touchdowns, whatever he threw. But at the end of the game, it was a hot knife through butter, and Todd Bowles supposed to be a defensive guy, and they look like USC. Pardon the pun. Okay, so what are we gonna do? All right, King. What's the most surprising thing you saw today?
Um, I think I'll go with how good the Ravens defense is, because the defense is going to be the thing carrying the team. Because then when you add the ability to run the ball with that defense, that's where they could potentially be pretty good. But the defense just now it's week after week. They've been backing it up, and they've got pieces on offense. They can run, they can throw. They made Geno Smith look ordinary. So you got to give credit where credit's due there. So I think that's the most surprising, is just how good their defense is.
All right, Will, what about you?
Same thing, but kind of different spin. I mean, the Ravens are a really good team. They upgraded a lot the defense with the linebackers from Chicago. And I'm so upset they did not do anything at the trade deadline. That could have tipped the scale, in my opinion, would definitely put them in a position where they're really making, the Chiefs getting a little scared, and you got all these other teams. That's really what surprised me. They have a really good team. They know their identity. I just wish they had pulled the trigger and got some real horses, because they know the rest of the season is going to be tough. So that was kind of surprised about that.
All right, I gotta go with Josh frickin' Dobbs. This dude got off the airplane. Wasn't expected to play, believe me. I wasn't expecting him to play. I was expecting that other dude to play, and you'll find out why in segment 3. Other dude gets hurt, and again, it's other dude, because I don't even know his name. And he rolls
Clayton
in,
Tune.
and he plays like poo.
Oh.
Because he didn't know anything. And then he's like, I'm a computer engineer or something. And he's slinging hash, and he's making plays. And I'm like, man, tell me Josh frickin' Dobbs, it's not about to win this game. And at the end, clutch throw, touchdown. They show my favorite quarterback, Kirk Cousins, in the hospital bed cheering him on. You can't write that stuff. Because Kirk's check clear. His check's already cleared. Josh is introducing himself to people that are like, hello, my name is Josh. He's got a name tag on. And they got the dub, man. So that's it for me. Okay. All right. So with that, fans, in segment 2, we're going to break down the Raiders week. Sorry, Mike. And we're going to find out why they got to this point in the first place. We'll be right back on the Eye Coaches Podcast.
The reviews are in for Dr. Keith Adams' book, Finding the Balance, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. College professor and student-athlete academic expert Dr. Lisa Rubin said, "There is nothing out there like this book, so I do hope people will pay attention and give it a read." Former George Mason standout Folarin Campbell said, "Consider this book an opportunity to work directly with Dr. Adams, just like I did. I assure you that there will be something you can take away that will be useful to you throughout your personal journey." Ryan Waite, a recent college graduate who is a software engineer, said, "I like how the book is based on research, which makes it good for general students as well as student athletes." The book serves as both a memoir to Dr. Adams' 30-year academic and athletic career, as well as an instructional guide to assist student athletes, parents, coaches, teachers, and administrators navigate through the challenges of finding a better balance between academic and athletic success. The book includes over 15 personal stories and anecdotes from Dr. Adams, along with numerous former players and colleagues from a variety of sports and endeavors. You can order your copy at www.ckasaveproject.org. From the main page, simply click CKA Save Project Services and order the Find the Balance book. For more information, contact Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odds Coaches Podcast. In segment 2, the Los Angeles Raiders make changes. So I'm paused on this, and it caught my attention because my doctorate's in organizational leadership. Leadership is hard. And I'm currently writing a book on leadership, and the official title is Lessons in Leadership, My Personal Journey to Academic and Athletic Success. And hopefully I can have the manuscript done by the summer of 2024. Cotman is supposed to help me out with a little bit of this. And hopefully this time next year it comes out. But it's about accumulation of my 30-year career in academic and athletic leadership. And Mike was in my department. So these types of stories interest me. And Will played for me. Mike worked with me. So let's talk about the Raiders, and you can see where this will align with. So the Raiders fired Josh McDaniels. There was a disconnect. That's what has been reported. And they had a meeting, an airing of grievances. And per media reports, players just unloaded on this guy. Players and coaches ripped him during the meeting. But the point of the session was to be upfront and honest to try to fix what was going on. And among the issues were overcorrecting, long meetings, the ways in which McDaniels attempted to hold the players accountable, and blaming players for issues such as play calling. McDaniels apparently had linebackers coach Antonio Pierce get up and speak on his behalf, but Pierce, who's a former Giant, kept referencing New York Super Bowl victories over the Patriots, in which Josh McDaniels was the offense coordinator, and that kind of pissed him off. So for the rest of the time, Josh McDaniels was what was called a shell of his former self. He tried to overcorrect, and it just didn't work. So now, so much has changed. You got Antonio Pierce as the coach. You got the GM being changed, Champ Kelly. Pierce is a leader. He's a vocal person. But Mike, Antonio Pierce will be the 8th coach, whether it's interim or regular for the coach, since Mark Davis took over in October 2011. Pierce played 10 years for both the Washington football team and the Giants. He was a high school coach in 2014, and after 4 years, he joined Herm Edwards' staff at Arizona State, and we kind of know how that ended. He got elevated to linebackers coach, to associate head coach, co-defensive coordinator, to defensive coordinator. For his entire tenure with the Arizona State Sun Devils, he served as a recruiting coordinator, and he resigned when there was an NCAA investigation. He joined Josh McDaniels' staff as a linebackers coach, and now he's the head coach. So I'm not saying it's not going to work, but the math long term just kind of doesn't add up. So before we talk about why it didn't work out with Josh McDaniels, Will, what are your thoughts about the happenings and what the Raiders did, and your initial thoughts on Antonio Pierce and what he can do as coach?
I think now we're just seeing that the biggest issues with the Raiders is ownership. You know, they don't know what they want to be. They're trying to take the short track, you know, to get to a Super Bowl, and it never works. You know, they bring on bad, you know, people. You know, they bring on bad, you know, coaches, things like that. You know, they have players who are, you know, Henry Ruggs, and there was another cornerback who got kicked off the team for like domestic violence. But let's talk about it. Is a very tough town. There's a lot of temptation, and it's just this is what they asked when they asked it. It's going to be difficult until they figure it out what they're going with the owner and what the owner wants to do. And personally, I've heard he doesn't know what he's doing. It's going to be more stuff. It's going to be the same stuff until, you know, just like not the Commanders. You have to make that change, and then you can actually move forward. But yeah, they're a mess, and I know Vegas deserves better. I'll be honest with that.
All right, Mike, what are your thoughts before we talk about what didn't work out with Josh McDaniels?
I like Antonio Pierce. I really like Antonio Pierce. He was a fan favorite. He's someone who locker room kind of leader and a great player. I don't know how the Commanders let him go. He was a huge part of our Super Bowl. I don't think it'll necessarily work because interim coaches rarely become, you know, get the full job. I'll be rooting for him. They look good. They played hard for him. They're also playing like a low-end college team today in the Giants, so it's not that impressive. But I mean, the Raiders are the Raiders. Bad franchises, and unfortunately, the Giants are becoming that, or have been that for the last 10 years. Bad franchises are bad franchises. It's top down. Hopefully, Antonio Pierce can get them out of it, because again, I'm rooting for him. I like him.
All right. So, why didn't it work out with Josh McDaniels? According to reports, the contract extension of Derek Carr included a no trade clause. And so when they tried to trade it, didn't work out for him. And he still ended up leaving, going to the Saints. The signing of Jimmy Garoppolo for a 3-year, $72.5 million contract was another mistake. The decision to start Brian Hoyer against the Bears when the team wanted to start the O'Connell kid, that didn't work out. As the losses mounted, Davis began meeting with players such as Josh Jacobs, Devontae Adams, and other leaders, sometimes over dinner. So the owner is circumventing his own team. The Raiders were among teams that attempted to trade up, but they didn't trade up, and they ended up, with Jimmy Garoppolo. And the GM, Ziegler, was actually getting good remarks, good rapport, but they just decided to go in a different direction. So my final thoughts on the Raiders situation. There's a lack of alignment. There's a temporary alignment now, and like Mike said, it's nice that people like them. That's great, but none of that's going to last long term. The firing of Coach McDaniels, general manager, and the coaching staff is going to cost the Raiders $85 million. That goes to what Will was saying. What are you doing? There's no way any organization says, hey, let's lose $85 million. That's a good idea. There's 3 things I like to emphasize in any leadership plan. Structure, which is simply boundaries. Discipline, which is accountability. How are you going to hold yourself accountable? And support, which is high levels of help. How can we help you do whatever it is we're going to try to do? I don't see this working long term. We wish you well. Final thoughts. Will, starting with you on the Raiders situation. Any final thoughts?
Man, I don't know. Until the owner decides he's tired of being the owner. I mean, it looks like they're going to get the same
Mark
stuff they're
Davis
getting.
is never going to sell the Raiders, man. That's not going to happen.
And never. No way. And they're going to get the same stuff they're getting. If he's alive for the next 20 years and he's the owner, the Raiders are going to get the same thing for the next 20 years. Look at the Commanders. They just changed, the owner, and the whole energy is different. Even though the losses are coming in like normally, but the vibe is different. The future is bright for a lot of people. And I feel that people in Vegas, now that like the hype of getting a team is like dying down, it's like, hey, wait a minute. Yeah, we've had a team for a while now, but now we're not good. Like now we got to get good. Like this is BS. And I'm like, yeah, you are. So until they change the owner, they'll get the same stuff they get every year.
Right. King, you've got the final word, sir.
When you were going through all the stuff about the Raiders, there was one thing that just jumped out. All the quarterbacks that you mentioned were terrible. So you want to fix it? Get a quarterback. That's really all this comes down to. Coaches can look really, really bad when you're talking about, oh, we made our big signing of Jimmy Garoppolo get a guy. If you have a guy, the Texans coach must be doing a great job regardless of what's going on. Why? He's got a guy. He's got C.J. Stroud. C.J. Stroud's thrown for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns. So you could fix a bad franchise just like that if you get the right guy.
All right.
One position.
Fans, when we come back, we're going to talk about things strictly for entertainment purposes only. We right back on the Iron Coaches Podcast.
The high school and college academic and athletic landscape is changing. The growing number of college transfers, as well as student athletes being able to profit off the use of their name, image, and likeness, has given student athletes the freedom and power to make life-changing decisions. That is why it is important for student athletes to be properly informed throughout the decision-making process. The difference between success and failure is often measured not by yards, but by inches, and even the most successful coaches and players use outside independent consultants to help improve their decision-making, which improves their results. That is what the CKA SAVE project would like to do for student athletes across the country, improve their academic and athletic results. Our academic and athletic consulting services assist student athletes with the college decision-making process. The CKA team of former high school and college coaches can provide student athletes an independent assessment of their academic and athletic skills to assist student athletes in their college decision-making process. Let the CKA team evaluate your academic and athletic ability to assist you in finding the right fit for your academic and athletic career. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free virtual consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by email at cka@ckasaveproject.org.
Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3. Let's get a top 5. King, you're on, sir. What is the top 5 this week?
Go Eagles 1, go Chiefs 2, Ravens 3, Jaguars 4, and I'll go Cowboys 5 because they almost won that game. Even if
All
they
right, Will, go ahead and critique that.
I'm gonna go with Chiefs, Eagles, Niners are still a good team. Let's not forget they're still a good team. I'm gonna take Baltimore because they're creeping up, and they're really creeping up, man. 2 weeks from now, they could be in the top 3. And I'm gonna go with the Jaguars. Yeah, that's my 5.
All right, I will go with that as we get to the season-long bets. So, Steelers over 8.5, they're 5-3. Jags 10, they're 6-2. Hey, the Jets are 4-3. Go figure. I still might have a shot at that one. Chargers 2-4. I don't have a shot with that. The Jets and Chargers will play on Monday night, so go Jets. Green Bay 7.5, and they're 3-5 right now with today's win. Carolina is just, I don't know what I was thinking. The Commanders are 4-5, and it's over 6.5. Well, I think we can get 3 more wins out of this season. I think we can. It's a puncher's chance. Okay, go. I told you Sam Darnold could play. Okay, and Seattle's 5-3. So that over 8.5 could work out for me as well. Last week I was 1-4, down 35. That was a bad week. This week I'm 2-3, down $10.85. So I had Kansas City minus 1.5. If you give me Kansas City with that lower number, I'm gonna take Kansas City every time. Okay, my over/under was Tampa Bay under 40. I missed that one out. Again, Todd Bowles and his bad defense. My 2-play spread was New England minus 3 and Dallas plus 3, and 0 for 2 on those. My 3-play money line: Baltimore, Cleveland, and New Orleans. Took me to the pay window, and for some reason, I keep hoping for an upset with Carolina, and that just didn't work out for me. Mike, did you do anything strictly for entertainment purposes only this week?
Not for football. I've been on a hockey kick.
Okay. What about you? What about you, Cot, man?
Nah, nothing for me. Nothing for me. Yeah, I kind of slowed down. Yeah, I want to enjoy the games this week, but next week, I'm gonna definitely put some bets in. Make it interesting.
All right. Speaking of next week, week 10, Kansas City's on the bye, and they deserve it. I forgot which Los Angeles team's on the bye. I don't know if that's the Raiders. The Rams or the Chargers.
Oh, the Rams.
I don't know. All right,
Yep.
it's the Rams. Miami is on a bye, and Philadelphia is on a bye, and Jalen Hurts is hurt. So that's a good time for them to be on a bye. Thursday, we have Carolina versus Chicago. I think we're back to the horrible Thursday games because that one looks awful. That one looks pretty bad. And Sunday, we got San Francisco visiting Jacksonville, Cleveland versus Baltimore, and Deshaun was back today. He looked healthy and spry, but I think Arizona does that to people. And New York against Dallas. Mike, are there any games you're looking forward to other than New York versus Dallas? And you might not look forward to that.
I'm not even watching that one. Games that matter in order. Panthers-Bears, best game of the week, because that's going to help us move up one spot in the number 1 pick scenario. The other one that matters is I need the Cardinals to upset the Falcons. Those are the 2 games, the most important games for me.
Okay. Will, what do you think, man? What games are you looking forward to?
You already mentioned the other one. So Browns, Ravens is going to be good. Niners, Jaguars, that's going to be good. Sneaky good. Saints, Vikings. Always exciting for some reason. Whenever they're in that dome, they just put up points. That's going to be pretty exciting, man. And, obviously a homer. Commanders versus the Seahawks. Interesting to see how it works.
Are the
We'll see.
Seahawks coming here, or they're
No, they're in the back in Seattle, so maybe it's the opposite.
Okay.
But we'll see. But that'll be interesting. And then the Jets Raiders. I mean, this new revamped Raiders who has energy going against, but no Josh McDaniels anymore, and they're going against a Jet team that's very hot. But
so where's that game going to be at?
Las Vegas.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay.
It's going to be the Sunday night game.
Sunday night.
Yep.
All right.
So you might get to go to sleep early. That's another thing.
Yeah, I'll be bypassing that one. So, fans, on behalf of our Cavalcade of Stars, I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and/or watching the Odd Coaches podcast. And we will see you on the sidelines. Till next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach FRANCHIZE. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.